DFW FCA's Faith in Sports. I'm Chris Schneider. Welcome to the DFW Fellowship of Christian Athletes weekly radio show, Faith in Sports, brought to you by the Jim Sundberg Golf Classic, coming up quickly. On Faith in Sports today, we'll feature two of the greatest names in the history of football. Legendary Nebraska Hall of Fame coach Tom Osborne and Heisman Trophy winner, Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl champion Roger Staubach. Tom Osborne has one of the best winning percentages in the history of college football. He will talk about that with us today, as well as his powerful relationship with Jesus Christ.
Sometimes people are not quite as disciplined in their spiritual walk and their spiritual approach as they are maybe in their business life or in athletics. It's almost like we want to be 400-pound bench pressers and only go into the weight room on Christmas and Easter. And as you know, if you lift weights, that isn't going to work. So I spend about 30 to 45 minutes every morning in prayer and meditation at the start of every day. Spend some time in the scriptures every evening and go to actually an FCA adult huddle every Friday morning.
More from the legendary Tom Osborne in just a moment. The DFW FCA has a huge event coming up on November 20th. It is the 50th anniversary celebration dinner. At the dinner, we will hear from several Dallas Cowboy greats. They will be telling stories and having a lot of fun, including the great Roger Staubach. And Roger will bring us this week's classic moment, talking about Tom Landry's effect on his life.
He didn't preach his faith in meetings, and you just knew, and we had devotional, so he was able to show his faith in a lot of different ways, and the biggest way was the example that he had. I mean, he was a wonderful husband and married to, he and Alicia had a mad love affair going on, and they were, so we saw him living it, walking his talk, and he really, his faith, I think, made him the great person that he was, and that's what he used to. When I was at some FCA camps, I mean, his life was wrapped around his faith.
More from the great Roger Staubach a little later this half hour. Also on the show today is the leader of the DFW Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Rick Bowles. He will tell us about some huge events coming up in the coming weeks as DFW FCA celebrates its 50th anniversary.
Jim Sundberg's done a great job as our host, and he has invited Tom Grieve, Mark McLemore, and Ivan Pudge Rodriguez, and there will be a Q&A for them as well. We'll hear a lot of great baseball stories, and it'll be fun. So if you want to rub shoulders with these guys, come on out. All of our events are open to the public, open to the community, and we'd love to meet you and love to hear your story. And again, rub shoulders with us and meet some of the staff and hear what God's doing with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes in North Texas.
More from the chief of the DFW FCA, Rick Bowles, in just a bit. DFW FCA would be honored to have you be a part of our team and a part of our year-long celebration. You can find some one-of-a-kind 50th anniversary apparel for men and women and youth, great gifts, great accessories, great clothes. Go to dfwfca.org. Check out the official store for FCA gear. Our featured guest on Faith in Sports today is a living legend. Tom Osborne led the University of Nebraska to 13 conference championships and 3 national titles. He lost only 49 games in 25 years with the Huskers and was elected into the Hall of Fame in 1999. Coach, thank you so much for joining us today. Now, everybody knows about your coaching greatness, but what a lot of people don't know is your strong belief in Jesus. You have been an avid supporter of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes for many, many years. How did you first get involved with FCA?
Well, actually, I went to a summer conference back in 1957. I believe it was the second national conference held. The first one was at Estes Park in 1956, and this one also was in Estes Park just 1 year later. So I've been involved with FCA ever since. So it was pretty close to the very start of FCA and certainly the first summer conferences.
So now, what kind of an effect did that summer conference that you went to have on your life?
Well, I think it was really the start of my commitment as an adult Christian. Like many people, I was raised in and around the church, went to Sunday school, but like many people, my faith was primarily the faith of my family. And there comes a time when everyone has to decide as an adult what path they're going to follow. And it was during that week, sometime in Estes Park, when I heard Christianity articulated in a way by people I could relate to and by people whom I admired in such a way that I could see the vitality and the challenge of Christianity in a new way. And made a commitment at that time from which I've really never turned back. So it was a very significant event in my life. I was 20 years old at the time, between my sophomore and junior year of college. And in that first of those early FCA camps, it was an older group of people. Most of the people there were college athletes, a lot of professional athletes, a few high school athletes, and of course that has changed over the years, where predominantly it's probably middle school, high school kids. But I still remember many of the people that were there. Dan Towler was an NFL football player. Carl Erskine, the pitcher, was there. Bob Richards, the pole vaulter. Otto Graham, the great quarterback, was there. Brooke Walker. A lot of really significant people in the world of athletics at that time. So it was a very important event to me.
Is FCA still an important ministry in our society today, you think?
Well, I think it's grown and become more relevant, particularly with some of the deterioration of the family stability. I think there are way more kids right now who are open to hearing a spiritual message, getting a sense that something isn't working right in their life. And so FCA has grown and expanded, certainly, in its ministry, and is now really an international ministry. I spent some time with Don McLennan, who recently passed away, who was the founder of FCA. Don and I went to Haiti together one summer back in the middle 90s, and we visited some of Mother Teresa's homes, and I'd been in contact with Don for probably the last 40 years, and so I was really sorry to hear of his passing. He was a very visionary, unusual person, one who was very committed to his faith, and had a tremendous impact on so many people.
More with the great Tom Osborne coming right up, and a bit later, Roger Staubach will bring us this week's 50th anniversary classic moment. And please always remember, we would love to connect with you. Our website is dfwfca.org. You can find us on Facebook at DFWFCA, and on Twitter, we are at FCADFW. This is the DFW Fellowship of Christian Athletes weekly radio show, Faith in Sports, brought to you by the fast-approaching Jim Sundberg Golf Classic. You want to play some golf with some of the greatest Texas Rangers of all time? Pudge, Grieve, and McLemore? You're cordially invited to the DFW FCA Jim Sundberg Golf Classic, October 3rd. Sounds like a lot of fun, Sonny.
Yeah, we're going to do something a little different this year. Instead of having really a main speaker, we're going to just do a Q&A. I'm actually going to be the moderator for Q&A with those guys, and they're names that are familiar to the baseball world here in North Texas.
Go to dfwfca.org for information and registration.
In 1966, Coach Tom Landry had the inspiration to start the Fellowship of Christian Athletes in Dallas. This year, Dallas-Fort Worth FCA is celebrating God's amazing impact on coaches and athletes during our 50th anniversary. Over 16,000 students and athletes are involved with FCA in North Texas. Nearly 500 coaches and teachers volunteer their time to influence student athletes. Visit dfwfca.org for more information, including how you can pick up some one-of-a-kind 50th anniversary products like caps, shirts, coffee mugs, and more.
DFW FCA offers you the chance to have dinner with four of the greatest Dallas Cowboys of all time. Captain Comeback Roger Staubach will be holding court with some of them.
Dan was a great coach. I mean, he was a lot like Coach Landry. Very good X and O guys. And Bob Lilly's the best of the best. And Bob Bruning became a fantastic linebacker and was my roommate. So it's always fun getting together, and whether you see Leroy or Chuck, or I see Drew Pearson or Tony Dorsett or any of these guys.
Join us for our 50th anniversary dinner celebration with Staubach, Reeves, Lilly, and Brunick. You'll kick yourself if you miss it. Go to dfwfca.org for all the information.
I'm Chris Schneider. Welcome back to DFW FCA's Faith in Sports, brought to you by the fast-approaching Jim Sundberg Golf Classic. We will continue our conversation with University of Nebraska Hall of Fame football coach Tom Osborne momentarily. Roger Staubach will bring us this week's DFW FCA Classic moment a bit later on. He will be talking about Tom Landry. Attention business owners who are friends of FCA, you can save money and support DFW FCA. Learn how what your business does every day can help support this amazing ministry. Go to dfwfca.org and get all the details. So let's get back to our special guest here on the show today, a longtime friend, supporter, and participant with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Tom Osborne. Now, Coach, you won 3 national championships. You are in the Hall of Fame. Obviously, you have learned a lot over your lifetime of coaching. So how do you apply that to your daily walk with Christ?
Well, I guess my background in athletics has led me to believe that discipline is very important if you're going to be a great athlete or if you're going to perform at a high level. And so I think sometimes people are not quite as disciplined in their spiritual walk and their spiritual approach as they are maybe in their business life or in athletics. It's almost like we want to be 400-pound bench pressers and only go into the weight room on Christmas and Easter. And as you know, if you lift weights, that isn't going to work. So I spend about 30 to 45 minutes every morning in prayer and meditation at the start of every day. Spend some time in the scriptures every evening and go to actually an FCA adult huddle every Friday morning, 7 o'clock. And the same group of guys have been meeting for the last 30, 35 years. So we're getting a little bit older, but there's usually 15 to 20 in attendance, and that's always been very important. And then, of course, weekly church services. And then I do a fair amount of speaking for FCA and church-related events. But that's essentially what I do to keep myself grounded.
Do you have any favorite Bible scriptures you like to fall back on?
Well, I think 2 Timothy 1:7 has been important to me. For God has not given us a spirit of timidity, but of power and love and self-discipline. Oddly enough, I read that to our football team before we went out and played a national championship game against the University of Florida back in 1996, in January of 1996. And the reason I did that was I thought that our team was certainly very powerful. They were very disciplined, but they also cared about each other. There was a very strong spiritual presence on that team, and so I thought that it fit them very well. So it seems like kind of an odd thing to do before you go out and play a football game, but I always felt that it's important that you operate on 3 levels in athletics, and I think that the FCA has now really begun to grasp that on the 3D coaching materials they're putting out. There's, of course, the physical dimension, height, weight, speed, strength, skill, those kinds of things. And then there's the intellectual dimension, which has to do with motivation and making sure that you know your assignments. And then thirdly, there's a spiritual dimension, which has to do with character, which has to do with issues of faith, of self-sacrifice, and ultimately weaves itself into teamwork. So I think that FCA is on to something there that can really help and benefit coaches across the country.
We're talking with coaching great Tom Osborne, led Nebraska to 3 national championships. Reading that Bible scripture sure worked because you guys kicked Florida around that night, didn't you?
Well, we played very well, and but again, it was one of those occasions where we were certainly very talented, but the chemistry was obviously right. Great work ethic, and players really cared about each other, and I thought that was really the key to the best teams that I had.
The one and only Coach Tom Osborne, recipient of DFW FCA's annual Tom Landry Excellence of Character Award in 2015. Thank you for joining us, Coach. Coming up next, we will check in with the leader of the North Texas FCA team, Rick Bowles. We will also get this week's 50th Anniversary Classic moment from the one and only Roger Staubach. Is God calling you to serve alongside a middle school or a high school coach in your area? DFW FCA is excited to announce our Character Coaching Initiative. Go to dfwfca.org and get all the information. This is the DFW Fellowship of Christian Athletes weekly radio show, Faith in Sports, brought to you by the upcoming Jim Sundberg Golf Classic.
How would you like to have lunch with Texas Rangers greats Jim Sundberg, Pudge Rodriguez, Tom Grieve, and Mark McLemore? Well, you can do exactly that by joining us for the Jim Sundberg Golf Classic, Monday, October 3rd at the Trophy Club Country Club. The driving range will be open at 9. Lunch will be served at 11 with Jim Sundberg talking with his panel of fellow Ranger greats, Pudge, Grieve, and McLemore. Then we'll hit the golf course. There will be great raffle prizes and live auction items, along with food, fun, and entertainment. For all the details on the DFW FCA Jim Sundberg Golf Classic, go to dfwfca.org.
Situated on 330 acres of beautiful natural landscape with facilities to accommodate groups up to 1,000, Lakeview Camp and Retreat Center is the ideal place to schedule your next event. Whatever your group's goals are, Lakeview aims to meet your needs, providing year-round service facilities for retreats, conferences, camps, corporate meetings, outdoor education outings, school events, and family gatherings. Our friendly staff is committed to making your stay a great experience. Come to Lakeview Camp and Retreat Center and enjoy state-of-the-art facilities, activities that engage and rejuvenate, comfortable lodging, and great food in a setting that inspires the awe of the greatness of God. To learn more about this scenic location for your next event, visit us online today.
For more information, visit lakeviewcamp.net.
Mark your calendar for the biggest event of the season. You are invited to dinner with Roger Staubach, Dan Reeves, Bob Brunig, and this guy, Mr. Cowboy, Bob Lilly. Sounds like a lot of fun, Bob.
It really does. I'm really looking forward to it. Of course, Dan and Roger and Brunig are all dear friends of mine, and FCA is a dear friend of mine as well, and I'm really looking forward to it.
You think you and Roger and Dan and Bob can come up with any stories?
There's no question. I can come up with one on Roger real fast.
You don't want to miss that story. It's the DFW FCA 50th Anniversary Dinner Celebration, November 20th at the Irving Convention Center. Registration and information at dfwfca.org.
I'm Chris Schneider. Welcome back to DFW FCA's Faith in Sports, brought to you by the Jim Sundberg Golf Classic. Roger Staubach has our 50th Anniversary Classic moment coming right up. Now, you can look great and help support DFW FCA at the same time. Check out our 50th anniversary gear, some incredible gifts and clothing and just a bunch of stuff in there. Check it out. Go to dfwfca.org. Look for the FCA store. Well, joining us now is the man who leads the FCA team in North Texas, multi-area director Rick Bowles. Now, Rick, this has been a pretty amazing year for DFW FCA as you celebrate 50 years of ministry, started by Tom Landry, of course. And you've got some huge events coming up in the near future that all of our listeners are invited to, right?
That's right. We're excited about our 50th anniversary celebration dinner on November 20th. It's going to be at the Irving Convention Center in Irving, Texas. Typically, we have 700 to 800 of the community come out. We also have a coach's appreciation part of that dinner where we bring out anywhere from 150 to 200 coaches and spouses, and we honor them for their volunteer work and service to FCA. With this being the 50th, we've got some new things that we're going to be doing as well. We're going to give out the inaugural Alicia Landry Coach's Wife Award. That'll be really exciting. We honor our Huddle Coach of the Year and various other things. Some great videos, some great testimonies, and then it'll be capped off with a great Q&A time with Roger Staubach, Bob Brunig, Bob Lilly, and Coach Dan Reeves. And you just got to make sure you're a part of this. And all the details are on our website at dfwfca.org.
And, if people are big Cowboy fans, they want to hear Staubach and Lilly and Reeves and Brunig talk. They don't really have to be a part of FCA right now. They're still invited to come, right?
Absolutely. This is open to the community, especially if you've been involved with FCA at any point in your life as a student athlete, as a student coach. If you were on the board, staff in the last 50 years, we'd love to have you, but anyone is invited to be a part of this.
Along the same lines, coming up here in a couple of weeks is your annual Jim Sundberg Golf Tournament at the Trophy Club Country Club. Is that still open to registration? Can people still show up and take part in that?
The golf tournament is October 3rd on a Monday, and we will close registrations down probably about 5 days prior to that. So we would still have some room, and if you want to play some golf and have a great time of fellowship, you can also learn about our ministry through this and meet some great people. We'd love to have you out.
Yeah, and you were talking about the 50th anniversary celebration dinner. You got some Cowboy greats going to that, and to the Jim Sundberg Golf Classic, you got some Ranger greats going there.
Yes, Jim Sundberg's done a great job as our host, and he has invited Tom Grieve, Mark McLemore, and Ivan Pudge Rodriguez, and there will be a Q&A for them as well. We'll hear a lot of great baseball stories, and it'll be fun. So if you want to rub shoulders with these guys, come on out.
And once again, you don't have to be on the inside of FCA to go to this. You're invited to come and get to know folks.
Yeah, all of our events are open to the public, open to the community, and we'd love to meet you and love to hear your story. And again, rub shoulders with us and meet some of the staff and hear what God's doing with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes in North Texas.
So one of the big things I've noticed going on with DFW FCA in the last few months is something called character coaches. And we've had several of them on the show here late. We'll hear several more in the coming weeks. What exactly are character coaches?
They are volunteers who love a particular sport. Maybe they played sports as a youngster or in college, and they want to give back. And so coaches are asking for volunteers to come in and help teach character to their athletes. And it's a relationship thing. Each coach will have different responsibilities for each. But it's usually a youth pastor, a pastor, or anyone. You don't have to be in the ministry, but you've got to be able to be a people person. You want to be able to rub shoulders. I use that word a lot, but that's really where it all happens, is when you are in the trenches. And these are volunteers that are trained up by us. There's certain requirements that we ask. But again, if you want to know more about that, you can reach us through our website.
And there is training involved. You don't just throw them in the fire and say, hey, show up and good luck to you. You give them some direction.
That's correct. We do training, corporate training, but we also do some one-on-one training, and we prepare you and get you ready.
All right. Now, folks are hearing you on the radio. They're hearing you on YouTube. They say, you know what, I think I might like to be involved in that. How do they get in touch with you so that they might join your FCA team?
You can call me at 214-739-8003 or email me at rbowles, BOWLES, at fca.org.
The leader of FCA in North Texas, Rick Bowles. Thank you, sir. Time now for the DFW FCA 50th Anniversary Classic moment, delivered this week by a man synonymous with the Dallas Cowboys. Roger Staubach is a Heisman Trophy winner, a Pro Football Hall of Famer, and an incredibly successful businessman. One of the people who had a great influence on his life was, of course, the man who started the DFW FCA, Tom Landry.
He didn't preach his faith in meetings, and you just knew, and we had devotional, so he was able to show his faith in a lot of different ways, and the biggest way was the example that he had. I mean, he was a wonderful husband and married to, he and Alicia had a mad love affair going on, and they were, so we saw him living it, walking his talk, and he really, his faith, I think, made him the great person that he was, and that's what he used to, when I was at some FCA camps, I mean, his life was wrapped around his faith.
Is it hard to believe, I mean, it was 50 years ago this year that Tom Landry started up the DFW FCA. It's hard to believe that many years have gone by since the start of it, and you being such a big part of it, and so many of the Cowboys.
Yeah, tell me about it. I've been married 50 years. It's going on 51 now. Same woman, by the way. So time just flies by, and that's what it. I mean, I would have. It seems like it was just yesterday when I left the Navy to join the Cowboys. That's 1969. So my wife and I, we were married in 65. So it's it just goes by, and that's we're all going to get. I guess the thing that bothers me the most is older people. That's which way it's supposed to be. It's when I see some younger people maybe don't get a chance to be older people, and I'm hoping that there's a life there that still will be there. There's salvation there. So I really have a harder time with seeing others that don't get a chance to get older, that they deserve that chance. But then again, if you look at this life versus an eternal life, then that's where your faith kicks in, and you just gotta have you have some answers, but you have most of your life is based on faith.
The great Roger Staubach, and we will be hearing much more from Roger and from Dan Reeves and Bob Lilly and Bob Brunig in the coming weeks as we gear up for the 50th anniversary dinner celebration, where those four Cowboy greats will be the featured guests. So is God touching your heart and leading you to get involved? FCA would love to have you on our team. You could volunteer to help in our huddles. Those are the small group Bible study and devotions for coaches and athletes. You could help in camps. Those help coaches and athletes develop skills and relationships and grow in Christ. There are a whole lot of ways for you to volunteer and be a part of our team. Get more information at fca.org. Coming up next, we will tell you who the special guest is going to be joining us here on the show next week. This is DFW FCA's Faith in Sports, brought to you by the fast-approaching Jim Sundberg Golf Classic. You are invited to the JSGC, the Jim Sundberg Golf Classic, with special guests Pudge Rodriguez, Tom Grieve, and Mark McLemore. Can you really play golf, Sonny?
I like playing golf. I am, I would say, humbly, not too bad. I shoot in the upper 70s, and I don't have to shoot in the 70s to have fun. I can shoot 85 and 88 and have a good time. That's what I try to do. I have a good time. Keep it in the middle, Chris, and I can get to the green. I'll let somebody else putt.
Go to dfwfca.org for registration and details.
Did you know that after a trip to an FCA sports camp in Estes Park, Colorado in 1962, Dallas Cowboys coach Tom Landry felt inspired to use his position as a coach to influence young student athletes? So in 1966, 50 years ago, Coach Landry helped launch the Fellowship of Christian Athletes in Dallas. Hi, I'm Rick Bowles, North Texas Director for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and I'd like to ask you to tell us your FCA story. What impact did FCA have or is currently having on your life? Visit dfwfca.org for more information.
How would you like to spend an evening with some of the greatest Dallas Cowboys of all time? Roger Staubach will be there with some great Cowboy friends, including Bob Lilly, Bob Brunig, and Coach Dan Reeves.
Being in Georgia and being far away, I sure miss, the ability to get together with so many friends. I'm looking forward to it, probably more so than anybody else, because I get to see these guys so irregular and just so often. I really miss, getting together with a lot of guys that I played ball with that are strong Christians too, so I'm looking forward to it.
Join us for the DFW FCA 50th Anniversary Celebration Dinner Sunday, November 20th at the Irving Convention Center. Go to dfwfca.org for all the details.
I'm Chris Schneider. Thank you for joining us for DFW FCA's Faith in Sports radio show, brought to you by the Jim Sundberg Golf Classic. Remember, we would always love to connect with you. Our website is dfwfca.org. You can find us on Facebook at DFWFCA and find us on Twitter at FCADFW. Our thanks to our special guests on the show today, Coach Tom Osborne and the great Roger Staubach. I'm Chris Schneider, the Sports and Spirit Speaker. You can find me at radioactivespeaking.com. Godly messages with stories from the greatest coaches and athletes of all time. Find me, the Sports and Spirit Speaker, at radioactivespeaking.com. We will have three greats joining us on the show next week. St. Louis Cardinals slugger Matt Holliday, University of Miami head football coach Mark Richt, and Tim Tebow will join us with the classic moment. Guests scheduled to join us in future weeks include Roger Staubach, Dan Reeves, Bob Lilly, Bob Brunig, Mike Singletary, and many others. FCA's Faith in Sports is an outreach of DFW Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Hosted and produced by me, Chris Schneider. Executive producer is Rick Bowles. For information on DFW FCA, contact Rick at rbowles, that's RBOWLES, at fca.org. And remember this week to do all that you do unto the Lord Jesus Christ. God bless you. From the DFW Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Faith in Sports.